Alright, so hello my Kaiser pups and Cinesluts, and welcome to my first reaction video for Joe Exotic's The Tiger King. I decided to film in our creepy basement and kind of ball out in all of my tiger gear, just kind of set the mood a little bit more for the video. So if you're hearing any weird noises, I one don't know what it is, two it's probably the heater. So let's settle on in and get ready for the first reaction. So, for anyone that doesn't know, which I think most of you do know at this point, that the reason you all want me to react to this video is because one, I have 2 degrees in either environmental science or ecology and conservation. So anyone that doesn't know that, there you go. That's why everyone wants this reaction video from me. And two, some of my more noteworthy quotes, mainly because of Andrew arguing with me, are that lions are more, not more, but no, I did say it, more intelligent than human beings because they can survive in the wild. And I wouldn't kill a lion because I don't have natural defenses against them. So if lions had what was it, rockets on the back of them, yeah, lions with rocket launchers on the back, I still wouldn't fight them and kill them because I'm such a big you know animal lover. So I want to make sure they're okay. So again, to start, before we start all of this, I was, and anyone can challenge me on this. I don't care because I will freely admit it. I was back before I went to college and everything. I was a big proponent for Doc Antler's place, Doc Antle's Antler, Doc Antle's place, and Carol's place. They were something that I almost applied to, and something that I almost went into to do because they seemed so enticing. So even even with me having my degree and everything, it took a little bit into about like 2 years into me actually reading into it and seeing the Joe Exotic stuff before this whole video came out, the whole series came out. I was almost into doing all that, and then I realized, wow, I'm a fucking idiot. Conservation has nothing to do with keeping animals in captivity. It has more so with doing research and surviving, keeping the population that's alive right now. So yeah, that's me. I was an idiot before all this, and I'm not saying anyone is an idiot for believing in any of this stuff because, I mean, it's also enticing. It's also out there and readily available to look like, look, I can save these animals. Oh, hands on. Oh, this is all so great. Like, look what I can do to kind of help with it. But it's all just guised in making more money off of these people, and it's fucking ridiculous how much money these people can make off of it. Um, but I'm excited that I can do these reaction videos. It's something I've always kind of wanted to do, so it's nice that you guys have wanted me to do it. I'm going to try my best to kind of explain what I'm thinking. Basically, I'm going to cover everything in each episode as much as I can, and two, it's just little things from each episode I thought were either hilarious or it's the dumbest thing I've ever fucking heard that they'd even allow someone to do something like this. I'm excited to see what your reactions to this show is, and then any reactions you have to what I say. If you want to challenge me, correct me, anything like that, I'm all up for it. I'm waiting for Andrew definitely to come at me for it because I mean Andrew's my biggest nemesis in this, and I'm ready to take him on for it. But I haven't seen him willing to watch it, so Andrew, I'm calling you out right now. Watch the episodes, and I want to see some reactions back to it. So let's dive in. I've got a whole shit ton of coffee, so I'm kind of amped to do all this. I'm gonna do episode one now. I'm gonna try to release the next three or four throughout the day. So at some point I'll get it. So let's start with episode one. Um, the fact they start off right away pretty much with the fact that like there's more captive tigers in the U.S. than in the world, and let alone Joe himself has, I think they said, about 227 big cats. So if you look up anything on like the World Wildlife Foundation or any like environmental site, there's in the wild there's about 3,900 as like a report of like 2018 2019. So roughly he alone in captivity has about like 17% of the population, if I calculated right. If not, recalculate me. So that's fucking wild in itself. The fact that like we have more in captivity than we have in the wild. Keeping more in captivity isn't gonna do. I'm not gonna say as much as what you're gonna have in the wild. You're supposed to promote as much, not interspecies, but you're supposed to bring in genes from different gene pools to help keep the population alive. If you're doing what they're doing in this show and in each of one of the top three, Carol's, Doc's, or Joe's, you're intermingling and you're creating a smaller gene pool. The smaller gene pool you have more inbred animals, you have more genetic problems. Just like if you were having humans, if you had people inbreeding, it's going to be a bigger issue with everything there. And the biggest issue with these people having all these animals, and the biggest thing with our government and wild animals, is the fact that the ability to even own exotic animals is ridiculous. We domesticated animals for a reason: one, for work and helping us out, and two, for pets. Um, yes, there are wild dogs, and obviously there's wild cats out there, but we have bred them to the point of having like poodles and little Shih Tzus and everything like that. Those animals are why we can have them is because we took that lineage and we brought them down in and out, in and out. So we have what we have. The fact that like any normal, sane human being wants to own a tiger is mind blowing. I was one of those people at one point because I thought, oh, owning a tiger would be the coolest thing in the world to have in my backyard. I could be able to handle it. But the reality of it is they're wild. We can't domesticate what's wild at this point, and if we did, it's going to take hundreds of years to do that. And by that point, we're not going to have the wild animal, and we're not going to have an environment at that point. So from school and a little bit of research that I did, the laws on this stuff is very loose and very just kind of sporadic all over the place. So the fact, I think it's more so if you go south and out west. Like I said, owning wild animals is pretty much like the Wild West. You need little restrictions on what you have, and as long as you can somewhat prove that you've had I think it's 25 hours of experience, and volunteering hours along with it, you can get a permit. Yes, there are some restrictions in certain areas to own certain wild animals, but most freely available are like chimps and wild and like tigers and lions and stuff like that, and wolves. So the three that are some of the most endangered animals, not including like insects and smaller invertebrates and stuff like that, like that's a little bit harder to own. Most people aren't going to really own them. The main reason, one of the big words one of my professors would put out there is sexy megafauna. Sexy megafauna is pretty much the attraction to having a, a a big animal out there, and the reason you want to protect it is because it's so cute. So you look at a tiger, you look at a lion, wow, that's so adorable. I want to protect that. You're not going to want to protect the little insects that you see crawling around on the ground because they're not something that attracts you to them. It's something you want to do. So that's why people more lean towards getting big cats, big animals, anything like that to do that. They also think they can do it because they think it's just we have cats now, so their lineage is all the way back, so it's the same thing. I could domesticate them and stuff like that. Their mindset doesn't work the same as you have a smaller cat. Working in the field that I have now, dealing with a small cat alone causes major injuries if they're upset with you. So owning a bigger cat, I couldn't even imagine having to do that, let alone the land, the money, the feed, anything like that is ridiculous. And then, so even moving forward with them, like talking about all the owning animals and stuff like that, you come across when they're talking about the first guy that gets like the owning, what is it, the snakes, and then you go out to the car and he owns a snow leopard. The comment that he makes, because they adapt to living in warmer climates and stuff like that, is mind-blowing. The reason we have like global warming, global climate change, the reason those animals are dying is because it's getting warmer in those areas. So the fact that he is creating this idea that, oh, you can take any animal out of anywhere and it will adapt to that time, yes, in theory it could, but not having one single animal is going to do that. Evolution doesn't change through an individual, it changes through a population. So you'd have to have a large population come to a warm climate like Florida, like a large area of a large volume of leopards come over and do that. You're not going to have that. That's not going to happen. So that's ridiculous in one. Moving forward, we finally get over, I think, to Joe's area, and you can see the amount of animals he has in one area. Tigers are not pack animals, so keeping them all in this one area and thinking, oh, well, they're all a big family, they're all going to be happy, we're all a big family, that's a ridiculous idea. The only real, I think, pack animals you're going to see in big cats are lions. Hyenas, hyenas aren't even big cats, they're not even they're not even like canid species, they're their own species in their own. So you're not going to see large cats doing this. So the fact that they're bringing into this conservational idea that like, oh, they all live happily together because we're one big family is not true. Yes, you can bring together lions and tigers and bears, oh my, together, But if you're raising them from cubs, which they are, but that's another problem in itself, that you're hand raising animals as a cub. You shouldn't be doing that. Like, there's a reason the wild animals are out there. They're out there for a reason. You're not supposed to have these tiny little animals and go, "Ooh, come and pet them," and everything. I mean, I'm going to delve more into that throughout my reaction videos, but I mean, again, ridiculous. I'm going to be saying ridiculous a lot because it's pretty much the entire season that I'm watching is ridiculous. I have notes on my computer. That's why I keep looking over here. The whole idea that Joe also puts out there. When I mean Joe, not Joe fucking Kimmel, but Joe Exotic. His whole idea that there are emotional connections through animals. I'm not going to deny that at all. I'm not saying that a wild animal can't have a connection, because you have certain conservationists that are out there that have introduced themselves to certain packs and certain prides and stuff like that. That's rare. That's very rare. And even then, like, they have an emotional connection to a point. I have an emotional connection to my dogs. Everyone else has an emotional connection with their animal. But even every now and then, your animal snaps on you, and they can cause major damage. I mean, the fact that you think this guy can go into an enclosure and go, "Oh, kitty, kitty." The other thing, he constantly keeps saying, like, "sexy kitty." That that alone, him and Doc throughout the entire first episode saying, like, "sexy kitty," it makes me think they want to sleep with their own animals, which is disturbing in itself. So I understand, like, their connection to him and everything. I'm sure they do, but again, you watch certain stills and certain shots throughout the series, and like, they're getting bitten by him. Like, they're saying, yeah, it's not the animal's fault, but it's their fault. But in itself, that should send a shock through your mind to go, "Oh, this is a problem. Like, these animals are attacking me." Um, so you keep going further down. The fact that Joe finds these people on Craigslist. I've applied to probably about 200 jobs either in the wildlife or environmental field, and I've not heard back from maybe 98% of them. But these people that have no experience, they're misfits, they can find a job at this place, which I'm not duping them on their intelligence or anything like that, but it's just the fact that they come into this thinking, all right, this guy has a conservation center, so I'm going to go and help that. It should click something in their mind to go, why doesn't this guy have a doctorate in front of his name? Why doesn't this guy show me how much research he's done or how much time he's had in the field? That alone should show you, be like, oh, this is a little crazy that I'm coming to someone's conservational zoo and becoming a handler within the first month. Let alone you look at Joe Exotic and you go, wow, this guy's hair, piercings, tattoos, it's a little off-putting. It's a little wild. That man is a Florida man like, if you were to describe a Florida man in and alone, that's him right there. There's no there's no other person that could possibly describe him. And then the fact that Joe is bringing these people in, and I mean, all of them are mind-washing, but again, going down each episode, it's a psychology of entertainment as conservationism. That's not good. Like, bringing these people in, which promote the idea even more, who are untrained, unhandled, anything like that, and then bringing in people to think, oh, let alone this man that has no research background in handling big cats can do it, I can do it too. And the fact that, oh, if I get a baby tiger or a baby lion, that's going to help the wild population and help people understand, like, oh, all these animals are endangered. Everyone knows they're endangered. There's no question about what they are and what they aren't. They're an endangered species, and the reason for it is because of us. No one's going to question that. They can question the global climate change and everything, but that's a whole nother topic. Like, no, people shouldn't be coming to areas like this. Like they know, oh wow, tigers are endangered, but let me go and handle this animal to make sure I physically know that it's endangered, and I'm somehow going to help do that while holding this animal, is ridiculous. So after he introduces his crew, you get this guy, I think, is one of the biggest proponents, and the reason Joe is so big from where he is Rick Kirkman, the chain smoking, coffee chugging, um, cowboy outlaw looking dude. He worked on big projects before coming to this. Like, I don't get why he would come to something like this and promote something he realistically knows is not a good idea. You meet Joe Exotic. He's a charismatic dude. I understand and everything like that, and I understand reality TV, and you want to push it and keep pushing it and make as much money as you can. And in the later episodes, he reveals kind of why he's doing it. But just coming from the first episode, reaction is just, why would you want to push a crazy gun-toting man, who owns 227 big cats, let alone a miscellaneous amounts of other things, um, into promoting this? It's not one gonna make him look any worse. People are gonna. It already proves when you're watching this series is that everyone loves this guy. Everyone loves Joe. He's so crazy. He's so out there. He's the ideal. You're watching and you're going, I could do that too. That's no problem. I can do that. And as much as I love this series already, like, that's another big problem with all this. Like, yes, they're showing the negatives of all this, but they're still glamorizing everything about it. Like, they're still like, if I have enough money, which money and craziness seem to tie together very closely in all this. Money and craziness is just like, that's all you need. You need money to run this, and so the government's not going to get involved, and no one else is really going to step in unless you have someone, which is coming up next, is Carol. But Rick, the fact that, yes, he wants his reality TV show, but, like, you inherently know, and you see all these people around him going, this is all dangerous, this is all not good, but I'm going to get the shot for it just because I'm going to make some extra money off of it. But the fact that, like, you're putting yourself in that line, it's going to make you look terrible. And it does throughout, I don't know about anyone else, but throughout that first episode and throughout the rest of the 4 episodes I've watched, like, watching this guy pisses me off more than half the people on this show, is because you're giving this man a platform to do what he wants to do. Is, yes, this is America, you can do whatever you want to do pretty much to a certain degree, but it's ridiculous. It's just the fact that, like, you want to make that much money off of a crazy person, and then also in line and in tow, you're gonna hurt these big cats because you want to make some extra money. And then walks in the one and only Carol Baskin, Big Cat Rescue, a place that I was pretty much, like I said, I was researching into enough, and I was like halfway through applying and everything, and then realized I don't really want to go down to Florida. That's not where I want to be. Also, why does this person have all these animals down in an area that, besides for maybe like tigers and like the rainforest type aspect, you can kind of have the same climate that's in Florida, but again, it's still not good. One of my favorite lines so far, and I think it's probably going to be my favorite line throughout the entire thing, is the producer that's on there. When he sees Carol walk up, he goes, God, she's dressed perfectly, which I think is like just the perfect line to have for her, because you're watching her this entire time, and this woman's portraying herself as a conservationist, which is just, it's not at all. Like, she's looking for stardom. She's just as bad as Joe is, and I think everyone's realizing it through all this. She's just as bad. I'm trying to stick to just what the first episode shows. She has no experience. Again, she doesn't. I'm not saying you need the word doctor in front of your name to be an expert on anything, because I'm definitely not an expert. I'm just going from experience, and very little at that point. The woman has no experience. Her now husband has no experience. The people that she's bringing in have no experience. This is the biggest issue. With any of this, she's literally just a crazy cat woman that had enough money to blow from her ex-husband, um, and she's able to own all these animals. She saves all of them. Again, I'll get to, I think the third episode covers more of her. But she's a misguided conservationist, and I use the word conservationist loosely, because she doesn't do anything other than keep the animals there for people to see. That's not conservation. She's not doing anything to help the environment for these animals. She's not doing anything to actually protect them or reintroduce them back into the wild to make sure the population that's out there is growing. She's doing nothing like that. She's bringing people in, she's filming it, and she's making it seem like she's doing more than she actually is, which is, she's mind-boggling, crazy hippie money with money, more money, more money. And the biggest thing also with this, Joe is, he's right about her, and I find more and more not backing Joe, but like keeping Joe is not the craziest of all this, because he knows what he's doing to a point, because he knows he's making money off of these animals, but he tries to also back up what he's doing as something that's going to help these big cats in the long run. But yet she is a hypocrite. She's the biggest hypocrite so far on the show. And next to Rick Kirkman, again, she is one of those people that just, that I'm pissed that I backed her up so much originally, like the whole rescue and everything, and the fact that the rescue is still a thing. Again, rescue so loosely put because again, the laws and the regulations for wild animals hasn't been real big for the past. Actually, let me rephrase that. It hasn't. People haven't been backing it more and more for maybe it's been maybe like 10, 20 years that it's been a bigger thing. You have like the EPA and stuff like that, but more laws have kind of been passed. To kind of help out with it, but you're still seeing people buy animals no matter what. Like it's not going to stop. The trade, the owning, and everything like that is not going to stop. And then later in the episode, you get Joe is doing this all for money. There's no question about it. Yes, he loves big cats. He loves all those things, but he's doing it for money. You go into his gift shop alone, and everything he has branded on there is him, him, him. It's not anything about the tigers. Yes, he has the tigers and the lions and stuff like that on his underwear and his music videos and stuff like that. Which I still haven't delved into the music videos, and maybe I'll do something later on that. But he's doing it all for money. He says, "Oh, I do this all for the heart, soul, mind of the animals." No, you're not. You're raising your money, and you're barely scraping by to feed these animals, let alone do anything to help protect or conserve them. Um, he is always going out. He's like these animal rights activists, these animal rights activists. You fucking idiot! Like if you want to people to watch and promote you and you say yourself you're helping these animals, you're all against these animal rights activists like Carol. I'm not sure how many other, I haven't really done any research on like how many other groups are actually coming at him for it, but I know obviously Carol's the biggest one. She's his kryptonite pretty much at this point. But you should be an animal rights activist if you're going to do something like this, like a conservation thing. You should have you should have that kind of mindset of being like, all right, I'm going to back these animals to the day I die, which he does. And he says, I would shoot you before I shoot an animal, which I get to a point, but also this man is unstable and carrying a gun around is the most ridiculous thing. And I'm not going to get into gun laws and everything like that, especially with animals and stuff like that, because that's not my forte. That's not anything like that. I have my own opinions on it. And then moving on further into the episode, I'm sorry if this is too long for everyone. I do apologize, but it's something I'm passionate about, and I'm glad you guys are letting me have a platform to do this. They're all gonna be long. Bring in Doc Antle. This guy is a fucking cult leader, and if you've ever seen one, he's power hungry. That's all he wants. He wants the power. He owns these animals for power. He doesn't own them for his conservational purposes either. This was another one that I almost went down to, almost visited, almost tried to apply for. He labels his thing as a preserve. A preserve, I keep saying loosely, but preserve is an area, pretty much of land that you're gonna have that no one's gonna touch, no one's gonna do anything to, and you're gonna have the animals roam wild. It's kind of like a reserve. In a sense, they're basically the same thing. They're just how much interaction are you going to have with people. This isn't a preserve. This is nowhere in a preserve. This is animals on display. This is a zoo. There's no question about it. This man can promote it any way he wants, but that's not a preserve. If you looked at any definition for it, Mr. Doc, Doc, for this, the only guy you come across in this entire thing so far is Doc. Handling, straight up handling does nothing for conservation. There are zoos out there, maybe like the Elmwood Zoo that does. They bring in injured animals that like literally can't do anything, but they're not bringing in more than their means can. They bring in certain animals to kind of show off, like maybe like owls and stuff like that, like have hurt wings. They're not going back into the wild. So handling, there is a purpose to certain handlings at certain zoos and conservation areas, but this isn't it. This is a money grubbing, money hungry man that wants as much attention as he possibly can to put his face up on these wildlife areas to make him seem like he's a god amongst men, which he isn't. Even though his followers, because he's a cult, followers think that. It's just the guy's ridiculous. We delve deeper into him later, but okay. And then even moving forward back to Joe, his whole idea with handling animals is he wants to help save the rainforest. Where in any of this do you see him donating money? Because half the time he's saying he can barely afford to run what he's having. He's not doing anything to donate to the rainforest. And what your whole idea is, if you're gonna help the rainforest, I don't see him going over there to do anything. I don't see any of his habitats in the actual place reflecting that. He's like, oh, he's basically justifying his prices for quality care. Is what I put down. quality care. You have 50 plus animals in one pen feeding them one barrel of meat. That's not, if you're doing that, you're producing competition in the wild, and competition results to killing of the animals, which is normal. But when you have wild animals, you have large areas of territory that other animals don't cross over. This whole idea of crossing animals over into their territories is absolutely ridiculous. Like, that's not going to happen. And if that does happen, you have, again, competition, you have animals dying. Granted, these animals aren't dying, but if you look at Doc's animals and his animals, they're overweight. They're so overweight. They don't have enough area to roam. They're eating too much, and it's just, it's not right for them. That's not how they would live in the wild. Your whole conservation center is still being blown to pieces. Um, and then just his whole idea of the mall, also like his whole idea of going to malls and doing magic shows and getting that like 16-year-old kid, which is a little strange that they're the parents of these people were just allowing any of that is wild. But yeah, I just had no words for the magic show, but that's just something that it's just so ridiculous. And going further along with promoting, like they show like Shaq and like late night shows. Yeah, they have like Jack Hanna that comes on and certain other big cat conservationists come on. But the fact again, giving this man a platform to do something like this, and these people that have higher up platforms to do something like this, they have a responsibility not to promote someone that's willing to handle animals. Like, I get it, misguided, you don't fully know what this man's doing, but like do a little research into it. Like, it's not that hard. You do a super simple Google search and you're gonna find everything on this man and be like, okay, this guy isn't actually doing anything to protect these animals. He's just kind of here for the money. Like, you just gave this guy even more of a platform than more people were going down to see. Um, and then the whole idea between Doc and him of the no barriers animal. But then Doc goes, I'm doing this to preserve, I'm properly managing wildlife. There's no proper way to manage wildlife. You can help protect what's there, but you don't manage wildlife. Wild is wild for a reason. That's the whole definition of what wild is. Um, you're not going to do anything different. You can help protect certain areas that could help the wildlife get back to what they're normally doing, but you don't manage wildlife. That's another person that just has the idea of they are above what animals are. And yes, we are an intelligent species, and the reason we are where we are is because of how our brain works and everything, and how the ability of us using our brain to be able to do certain things like that. But there's certain things you can't manage. Wildlife is one of them. You can't do that. You can control it, which isn't going to happen, and again, you can help preserve it. So you can preserve wildlife, but you can't manage it. And even look at Doc, and he goes, oh, I'm just taking in animals to help protect them and everything. But then you see him in the first episode using them in Hollywood movies. That's not promoting anything with them. That's just showing that, oh, I can own another animal and do what I want with it, and hopefully have no repercussions from it. Um, which mind blowing again. And then again, one of my favorite lines from the show, which is still not, I don't know how this hasn't thrown up a red flag for any government officials, is Joe going, anyone who wants to come in to take my animals, it's going to be a small Waco. The fact that he's on recorder saying that the sheriff knows about it, that's a visible threat. Like, that's not like, yeah, freedom of speech, but like that's a threat right there. And the fact that he's just sitting back and this man has armed guards, which, yeah, protect what you have, but like the sheriff should have looked into this more, going, this is not so illegal, but this is a point where this is unsteady, unstable for one, the animals, and two, um, anyone that's around him. This man could set off at any moment, and you're just sitting back and allowing that, and you're like, all right, we'll just handle it when it happens. That's not how that works. And the fact that like the government hasn't gone in, the fact he even mentions like the zoos won't come in and give him an accreditation. If you don't have an accreditation, why do you have a zoo? Why do you have a conservation area? That should be, let alone if you can't get an accreditation, you can't prove that you can not handle, but can't provide for these animals, you shouldn't be able to own something like this. The fact that you, again, only need like 25 hours of experience and hands-on time, and then you can apply for a license to own these animals and then have a cage. I could go out and do that right now. I shouldn't, but I could. And the fact that anyone can pretty much do that, it's the mentality of like, we are above everything else in this world, which it's true to a point, but it's not true enough that like we can help. We should be able to do that. It's just mind blowing. They bring up PETA in the episode. Fuck those guys. They kill more animals than most people out there. yes, again, they're it's a fake guise of them trying to protect animals, but they don't think um, like pets should be a thing. They think they'd rather them be euthanized than actually be protected. They kill most of the animals that they bring in. It's whatever. Um, and then they randomly bring up towards the end of the episode, which I don't know why this isn't more driving point, is the Big Cat Safety Act. Pretty much the Big Cat Safety Act. I don't know if it's still recording. I think it's still recording. The Big Cat Safety Act is gonna wipe out private zoos, which it should. And it should. Carol thinks it's gonna protect hers. It's not gonna protect hers. They're gonna go in there right away and go, "Oh, this is an issue. Like you can't have this." Like, and she's like being a proponent for it. And then Joe threatens Carol alone. Again, the Waco comment and that comment. Should be enough to get this guy out of whatever position that he's at. But it's going to continue. He continues, and as you can see, he continues until he goes into jail, which he is right now, and half of his interviews are from the jail. Um, it's just mind blowing. So that's the first episode. That's my first reaction. I'm gonna post it, and then I'm gonna go right into filming the next one. Hopefully, it's just as good. But thanks for watching. Peace out.